Tēnā koutou katoa e homa. Tēnā koe te Premier, tēnā koe Minita Maclay, tēnā koe Ambassador Wang, tēnā koe Mayor Brown, and he tēnā mihi kia koutou raurangatira mā, and kia ora Fran Monamihi mai. Thank you for the introduction. Lovely to be here today. Fran, in her usual Oprah style, has tasked me within a 10 minutes, and I'm already on 9 minutes 30, to summarise everything we learnt in China. And she said I needed to do it with great humour, which I thought was quite a difficult task. And I was sort of imagining a stand-up comedian in a show getting given, like pulling a topic out of the bucket. And it was Chinese and New Zealand economic and trade relations, and imagining what they might do with that. I will try my very best, Fran, to do you proud. Look, this is a photo of everyone in Shanghai on the Prime Minister's delegation. It was made up of political leaders, including obviously the Prime Minister, Minister Upston and Minister Mitchell. I'd like to give a call out to Nancy Liu. Where are you, Nancy? Thank you so much for being with us. Nancy made a real difference, and I loved getting to know you. Thank you so much. We also had Ngāti Whakaoe with us from Rotorua, who were amazing, and a media delegation. So a big contingent there from New Zealand. And Nancy, I did want to call you out with this photo. This is a photo of you and me at one of the shops that we went to visit, and I think that's a kiwi or a kiwi. Nathan, is that a kiwi fruit? Is that Nathan? Okay, it's Nancy, myself, and Nathan in that photo from Zespri. So we had a fantastic time. I'll say one of the things about the business delegation is that most of the people, and this is us doing our work as we did every day, we'd have a briefing. Most of the people in the delegation are doing business in China. They're deep in China. It's different to the delegation recently to India, where it was a little bit more about opening up the market. So really strong leaders in the room. Call out to Mark Piper, where are you? Okay, Mark has been on every delegation that I've led, and he has been the most engaged and committed. You're my favourite. Thank you, just saying. Oh, no, he is my favourite. Business Desk got it wrong the other week. In terms of our objectives, they were really clear. We know China, we want to go in, we want to create economic opportunities. But also we wanted to understand very carefully the change in market dynamics. We've had COVID, we've had various things, so we wanted to get to the bottom of it. Now, throughout that time, in terms of what we achieved, and the PM's already kind of alluded to it, we signed over 30 MOUs, so sort of partnership agreements, memorandums of understanding, deals, things like that. And these are just a few photos to demonstrate. We also generated just under $1 billion of economic value in terms of exports, which was very well targeted and an excellent outcome. I just want to briefly touch on the overall outtakes. So firstly, it's no longer the same China. It continues to change and evolve. It felt different, it looked different. We all thought there were some differences. What were those differences? Well, in terms of the who, in terms of the demographics, a couple of key points. One, from a seniors perspective, and I mean those more aged in our communities, in China, same thing as the rest of most of the world, aging. The number of seniors in China is going to double by 2020. In the next 20 years, the number of seniors will double. Those seniors no longer want to, in the main, be involved in intergenerational care and some of the traditional roles that they have played in China. They want to have fun, they want to be healthy, and they have a different outlook as a consumer. The younger people are becoming more educated. They are marrying less and having less children. So those kind of dynamics are really interesting in terms of the who. In terms of the where, we know what the big markets are, but there are a number of additional markets. So you look at the tier 2 and 3 cities. We were quoted some different numbers, and I've checked it in AI, and I'm not sure what the right number is, but all I can say is there are many, many cities in China, outside the major cities, tier 2 and 3 cities, that are bigger than New Zealand. So to the Prime Minister's point around just growing incrementally our level of exports to China, the opportunity is huge if we are targeted. But the consumers are different. The consumers are smarter. They want more for their dollar. They want something different. They still believe in New Zealand, clean, green, wholesome. Fantastic. love it, but they want more. What do they want? They want stories of provenance and origination. They want nutrition, science, innovation, health. It goes to those changing kind of demographics. And so we need to bring more innovation to our products. And I think that's one of the standout learnings from everyone on the delegation. The last part, the how, the digital. Digital, saying that China is leading in digital and it's not negotiable is a no-brainer. You all know that. The thing that I learned that was different was not only that, but the use of influencers, but actually that people in China aspire to be in these aspirational communities where you can learn and talk to others about various topics, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. One of the first things we learned about was the current economic situation. The first bullet point there really sums it up. It's a bit tricky right now. However, there are three things we need to take out of it. One is that the economic conditions in China will likely cause a need for the government to stimulate domestic demand, perhaps subsidies, perhaps other types of incentives and interventions. We need to be really mindful of that in terms of the products that we are selling. We need to be mindful increasingly of China's self-sufficiency risk, and I won't elaborate on that, you understand what that means. But there is a real opportunity coming out of it in terms of the current geopolitical kind of tensions, particularly in terms of students wanting education opportunities, tourists wanting tourism opportunities outside of the US. So there's a really unique time and place opportunity for New Zealand given that. One of the places we visited was McDonald's, which was, Minister Mitchell and we got to meet our idol, and I'm sure he's got that picture framed in his office. It was a special moment for both of us, actually. But here's the thing. Did you know how fast food is growing in China? Now, some of you might, if you're at Fonterra, Simon, you'll know that there is a lot of demand for mozzarella cheese. In China, McDonald's is the global benchmark for that company. They are going from 7,000 to 10,000 stores. KFC already has 10,000 stores. Pizza Hut restaurants are going in the reverse direction to the rest of the world. Why is that? You've got this density of urban population and you've got a workforce that's available for deliveries. Most of the McDonald's stores exist to deliver to your house. Greg Foran and I went to visit the Shanghai team from Air New Zealand while we were there, and we were talking about this, and they just thought it was nothing strange about getting a bottle of Coke delivered to your home, which is a bit different for us. So it's a really interesting trend that's going on. The other one is just coming back to this China thing. This was a visit to NIO. NIO is one of the kind of just hitting into the top 10 of EV manufacturers in China. And the PM mentioned this before. China in the early, 2000 to 2010 decided that they were going to go into this area. They doubled down on it. They now dominate world supply of EVs. And this is just one of many. It's growing. It's doing millions of cars. It's got 10,000 patents, billions of dollars in investment. Now, that's probably not that strange. You know that China's doubling down in EVs, but the key point is when China decides, that's what they do. They're great at it. And so this is just one example of many that we need to keep in mind as we kind of go forward. From a sectoral point of view, there are a number of takeouts. But I think when we had a number of leaders of the different sectors within the business delegation, and they came up with these I've just summarised them in a sentence for each sector. But I think if you go to the bottom and you look at what all of us need to do, we need to act fast. There is massive product turnover in China. 67,000 new products a week into Chinese shelves, e-commerce, etc. That's a lot. Just get your head around that. High product turnover, lack of affinity to brand. So if you're not delivering that innovation and that edge on that brand, someone else will take that spot. And we need to figure out those markets, those tier 2, tier 3 cities, so we can get that extra 0.1% that the PM spoke about. And we need to go as a group. We're competitive with each other in the New Zealand and the meat industry and the dairy industry and all the industries that we've spoken of. There's competition, but we need to go as Team New Zealand in terms of marketing, and we need to do a really strong job of that. So we need to be incredibly joined up. One of the quotes that was given to us, which many of you will have heard before, is that borders frequented by trade seldom need soldiers. And when you think about that, if there are strong trade relationships, if the political relationships are engaged, and if we have good people-to-people relationships through education and tourism, then that will be our position. And that is an excellent place for us to be. And I think this delegation hit all of those notes. Lots of work to do. We need to double down. It is our number one. We need to double down, and we need to not only get the fundamentals right, which we do every day, but actually, if we're going to exploit the growth opportunities, we need to be taking all of these things into account. And that's what the delegation took out of this. So, nō reira, ka mahi tahi tātou, let us work together as one on that objective. Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, Fran.